Explore the human condition with Brian Sermo. Chat with podcaster and animator Evans Angelo Duville. And catch a performance from Reality Distortion. It's all ahead on this episode of AHA.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher-Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.
Hi, I'm Matt Rogowitz, and this is AHA, a house for arts, a place for all things creative. Brian Sermo is an artist living in Albany, New York. His paintings offer a unique perspective on the human condition, often contemplating the absurdity of existence.
I'm a person who thinks that being alive and being human is a very absurd thing. It's something I'm always trying to approach with humor because it's almost too overwhelming to look at life and say, well, what is the meaning here, and what are we doing? The work that I'm making, it doesn't get made unless I'm listening to music, I'm reading, I'm watching films, thinking about personal memory, personal experience. All that stuff is just kind of gets synthesized into the work. There's cubism in there, and there's, Peanuts cartoons in there. Bob Dylan is a huge influence, and then there's some jazz ideas in there. So it just all comes through as you make the work. There's a painting that I did a couple years ago, and I was looking at the pool paintings of David Hockney. And another image I was obsessed with was Vision After the Sermon by Gauguin. There's two figures wrestling in it. So I said, all right, well, I want to make a painting where two figures are fighting or wrestling, and I want it to be by a pool or something. So that's it. I don't know where it's going from there. As I made it, I started to think about the game we all played when we were kids, Marco Polo. That was the game I played with friends when we were in the pool. So I just all of a sudden said, well, what if I titled the painting Marco Polo? And so that's kind of how ideas just kind of come together in the process of making something. I start off with drawing. I just sit down and I just start making lines. And a figure will arise or a shape will come out of it. Sometimes they're very abstract. And then once I find something, it just feels right, then I start to refine it and revamp it and change it. Once I have everything figured out, composition, scale of what I want the painting to do, then I transfer that small drawing onto a large painting, and then I start to make the painting. But when I go into the painting, I have a pretty solid idea of what I want. It was all worked out in drawing. You are made up of the things that you did when you were a child, the things you learned in art school, the things you learned about being in your studio on your own, from drawing from other artists. All that stuff stays with you, and it all just slowly develops into something. And what you're looking for is, how do I fit into all this? Where can I fit into this kind of canon of art? I'm telling some kind of story, and it connects not only to my time, but I think it connects to the canon of art history before it. I think any artist that's working in the series about what they're doing is part of that. I don't necessarily know how to build a traditional painting, layers and glazes and things like that. I was taught from very contemporary painters, and so I paint wet on wet. And my color palettes have always been very much grays and earth tones and blacks, and I always just am drawn to that kind of color palette. I did this one painting called Gray Tree, and there's a reproduction, or I painted Mondrian's Gray Tree in the background. It has this really kind of gray, ominous quality to it. And at the time I was reading Sinclair Lewis's Babbitt, and in the book there's a line that says, "Gray fear loomed always by him now." I started to think about gray matter in terms of the brain, the human brain, and this idea that it's not only a gray palette, but it's also tapping into human emotions, a human experience, which is, the gray matter of the brain. And I said, I'm gonna make a series of paintings that are dealing with this very kind of ominous quality and really tap into the psychological turmoil of these characters. I think anyone's job as an artist is to bear witness to their time. I think we're all, I don't care what kind of art you're making, what materials you're using, the subject is always the same. It's the human condition. How do we deal with being alive? How do we deal with being human? What does it mean to be human? If we want to melt down all the artist statements in the history of the world, it can all be boiled down to the idea of the human condition. And for me, I have to stay engaged with that.
Evans Angulo Duville is an animator working on what he calls a love letter to upstate New York. For over a year, Evans has been interviewing Capital Region locals and then turning those interviews into animations. Here's Jade Warwick with more.
Hey Evans, welcome to A House for Arts. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm really excited to talk about this amazing project you have coming up called The Aura of Upstate. So do you want to give us a little bit of the background of it and why did you bring this to existence?
Yeah, so the Aura of Upstate project essentially started through a local grant that I received through the Art Center here in Troy, New York. Mm-hmm. And basically what it is a project that consists of a podcast where I interviewed individuals within my community of upstate New York. And then I took snippets of those conversations and then made an animated film out of it. And then I made a documentary following my journey of creating the project. So all of that kind of encompasses what was season 1 of the Aura of Upstate project.
Oh, I love that. And see, grants really do. Grants really do uplift artists.
Yeah, they do, for sure.
So I know this has to do within the name, the Aura of Upstate, but why center upstate New York in this project? Like, why create an animated storytelling of this particular region?
Yeah, that's actually a credit to the grant that I received because one of the criterias of it was that it had to incorporate the community in some way. And I almost actually didn't apply for the grant because I had difficulty coming up with a concept. Because I had always been dreaming of making my own animated series since the age of 10. And all the ideas that I came up with were characters from my own imagination and places from my own imagination. So with this grant, it kind of presented the challenge of taking reality and making it into an animated show somehow. So fortunately, they presented me that challenge and it ended up being this project.
Is the project more, like you said, it's like a podcast? Like, can you give us a little bit of, like, I guess, a person watching this, what would they see?
At first, the project starts off with the podcast. I interviewed 7 guests, all within the Capital Region. Some of them are business owners, some of them are everyday people, all from different walks of life, living within the same community, essentially. And then I took between 30 seconds to 1 minute of each one of our conversations, and then I made a cohesive animated film using each one of our conversations that kind of talked about a piece of their life, but also a piece of what it's like to live in this community that we call home.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so what's, I guess, Was there anything that like surprised you about all these conversations? Because you are talking to all these voices in the capital region. You know, even though it's a handful, you still get so many stories out of those, especially when they're community leaders, business owners that have existed for a long time. Like I know you've interviewed Patrick Harris at Collective Efforts, the Historical Seasons skateboard shop. So what surprised you in these conversations?
What surprised me is their viewpoint on the community itself, because a question that I asked throughout season 1 was, what is the Ore of Upstate to them? And oftentimes, all their answers kind of centered around it being fertile soil in a way. Like this is a place where there's a lot of opportunity to chase your dream or start a business or to take risks and not really feel the effects too drastically if things don't work your way. From those conversations, I felt inspired to continue pursuing my own dreams as well.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I know just from me following you on social media, this project blew up. Like you went from, I remember when I first followed you, you had like 200 followers and now you're almost up to 13K in like, you know, in the whole space of like doing this project. What has surprised you about the come up and the praise and the love you're receiving on this project? Because you're not just in Albany, you're like going to Buffalo, I think Ithaca, Syracuse. So what has surprised you about the amount of love that's been pouring in?
That people care so much, honestly, that people care. When I first started this project, one of the questions I was asking myself was if there was gonna be an audience for it, because it was heavily inspired by a show from Netflix called Midnight Gospel, and it had been canceled after 1 season. So I didn't know if that show being canceled would affect this show, and with me following the same pipeline as them with having a real life podcast and then turning into a animated project. So for me to actually release it and continue promoting it and then actually find an audience and find the people that actually do care about the project, and individuals who've emailed me and sent me text message about how inspired they are by the project and how not only that they're excited to see it, but they want to be a part of it and like the part of the continuation of it. So the love and the support and the care has been the most surprising part for sure.
Yeah, I will say, upstate New Yorkers, we love upstate New York.
Yes,
you
we
know,
do.
a lot of people, when we think of New York, they think of the city almost immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I moved here, I thought of I sold my car and everything for transportation because I'm like, I'm gonna be in the city, I'm gonna take the bus. No, so even I had a misconception of what it is up here. So it's really beautiful that you're like, I don't know, just creating this new scenery in another format too, because animations, you know, I am a huge animation fan, and it's really awesome that you're like creating this format in animation, so like animation nerds like me can really like, I don't know, enjoy it and like digest like different conversations that are happening all over the region. So if you're going to work, let's say if there's a season 2 in the future, what would you change? How would the show evolve? Are you already thinking about that? Already have the gears turning?
Yeah, so the next step for this project would be to make a season 2. And my mom told me that if I'm gonna make a season 2, I have to make it bigger and better. So I would like to essentially make it into more of a podcast within a show, where I do have the section where I do sit down and talk to my guests, but I also would like to get up and move around with them and have us go on walks, depending on the area of upstate that we're in. I would like to incorporate a theme where I ask my guests to bring items that is of some significance to them, because, you know, the element of podcasts that I really enjoy is that it's essentially an intimate conversation where I'm getting to learn more and more about them. So I feel that having my guests bring items that are of significance to them adds another layer into the audience getting to know more about them. And as for season 1, I only did it in the capital region. So for season 2, I would like to continue to start it in the capital region, but then venture out and go to Buffalo and Rochester and Syracuse and other areas within upstate New York who deserve love as well.
Yeah, exactly. Buffalo, yes,
Yeah.
yes. The very snowy places. So what do you hope the Ore of Upstate gives back to people? Like, what is your if you were to have a goal, a lot of artists, we don't have an end goal. We just keep going and going and going and just enjoying our craft and our passion. But like, what's something that you really want this project to do? Like movement-wise, making people feel good, making people feel seen. Is there anything in particular, any goals in particular?
Yeah, I have a lot of goals with this project. One of the reasons why I'm so excited that it has been blowing up and it's been getting a lot more traction is because that I can now use it as a platform to continue to uplift upstate New York. And not just the areas and the communities that we live in, but the people as well. Because as I've started this project and continue to learn more about this project and meet more people, we have a lot of talent out here.
Yes, we do.
And we have a lot of stories out here that could make for a great show if given the opportunity. So as I continue this show, I would like to put these people on this platform so people can see what they're doing, hear their stories, check out their music, see their art, and hopefully they continue to grow a following from being on this project. Because that's what I think true power is, you know? Your ability to help other individuals. So I would love to, whenever the Aura of Upstate project finishes, however it ends, be able to look back and see all the individuals who played a role in the making of it and see how their careers were affected, hopefully in a very, very positive manner from being on the project. So.
Oh, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the community base ethos that you have with this project. It's really, really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's called the Aura of Upstate. I literally can't make it without them.
That is
I literally cannot.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Evans. And thank you so much for what you're doing. This is going to be an amazing project. I can't wait to finish season 1 and dive into the future seasons that I know you're going to be releasing, because I have a lot of faith in the movement that you're creating. And thank you. And thank you for being on A House for Arts today.
Thank you.
Please welcome Reality Distortion.
This the world ended in April, and I'm here alone. And as you shut the door, I shoved my fingers in the hinges just to hope for a little more. You didn't ask me, you didn't pass me any of your burdens. I didn't choose this, couldn't refuse it, 'cause your mind's made up. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Count the leaves and watch them fall. Set adrift as time flows to a crawl. Now we're moving through September. You get harder to remember the way you were. You didn't ask me, you didn't pass me any of your burdens. I didn't choose this, couldn't refuse it, 'cause your mind's made up. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Will it fade Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, make it make sense. Make it make sense, make it make sense, make it make sense to me. I still wake up hoping to hear the phone ring. You love me, you miss me, you miss everything.
Thanks for joining us. For more arts, visit wmht.org/aha and be sure to connect with us on social. I'm Matt Rogowitz. Thanks for watching.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.